All right, YouTube, that's right. It's time for yet another book haul. Before we get into the haul, there's some things that I need to make clear to you. I know that a lot of people have issues with booktube and booktok and this whole thought of consumerism and people just buying books to buy books and not reading them or overconsumption, and I get it. I get the problem. But allow me to lay your concerns to rest. Most of these I did not purchase. The vast majority of the books that I'm about to haul to you, is that how I even say it? Were gifted to me. Lovely, amazing supporters of this channel gifting me books, and I'm here to display them. I hope that makes you feel a little bit better. I'm not out here buying 50 books. Cheers to you, cheers to book hauls. To kick it off, I'm going to start with the section of books that people gifted me, and then I will show you the books that I have gotten for myself. I'm not going to name any names because most of these books, when they showed up on my doorstep, did not have a note saying who it was from. Misery by Stephen King. Oh my gosh. I've started to collect these Hodder and Stoften, I don't know how to say it. This publisher, I don't know, they're kind of revamping all of Stephen King's published works, and they just look amazing with these colored spines. Crazy lady kidnaps a famous author, holds him hostage, and forces him to write a character back to life. Very psychological, very thrilling. Did I mention she's crazy? The Tommyknockers. As you can see, I'm actually currently in the middle of reading this. Woman trips over buried spaceship in the woods. Aliens. Mind control, really weird. Yes, the first Stephen King video of 2025 is fastly approaching, so be on the lookout for that. Christine! Boy buys a car. I don't know if he fixes it up, but the car is possessed and it makes the owner do really bad things. What could be more Stephen King? Carrie. Yes, dude, Carrie. Already read this book. Phenomenal starting point for Stephen King. One of his best books for sure. Different Seasons. Short story collection. I think it has his 4 most famous besides The Mist. Yep, Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, Apt People, The Body, and The Breathing Method. Yeah, so 4 longer short stories, pretty much 4 novellas in one collection. The Bachman books. The 3 major novels written under Stephen King's pseudonym Richard Bachman. It has The Long Walk, Road Work, and The Running Man. Yeah, could not be more thrilled for that. I'm excited to read that. This October will be a lot of Kingtober stuff, so maybe you'll see a lot of these read that month. And then last but not least, this was actually a gift from my dear sweet wife for Christmas, and that is it. Look at this magnificent chunky beast. This is what I'm talking about. My favorite Stephen King book of all time. Oh wait, I didn't tell you what half of those were about. All right, next up is my books from Book of the Month, which just so happens to be the sponsor of today's video. Book of the Month is a subscription-based book service that sends the best new and emerging fiction right to your doorstep. Guys, these are good books at good prices. On average, members save about $5 on every hardcover that they purchase. They have a team of professional curators that reads and carefully selects every single book, and each month's selections are from the best new and emerging authors. But Ian, how does it work? Every month they bring you a short list, and on that short list is the best new and emerging fiction. The way it works is 1, you pick what speaks to you. 2, they'll send it on over. 3, you repeat the process every month. And 4, well, you read the books. Happy reading. And if you feel like nothing is really speaking to you that month, Book of the Month does allow you to skip months, so you don't have to pay for the months that you don't use the subscription. Let me show you what I got. The first book that I chose was Penitence by Kristen Koval. This is literary fiction with a heavy dose of murder mystery. I think it's also considered a thriller. And then the second book that I got was A Season of Light by Julie Aramwanya. Oh gosh, I butchered it. But this is a literary fiction set in Africa, I believe. This is during the Nigerian Civil War, so it's also historical fiction. You get nothing but quality with Book of the Month every single time. So click the link down below in the description or go to bookofthemonth.com and use the code CRUSH to get your first book for only $9.99. And again, thank you so much to Book of the Month for sponsoring today's video. Back to it. John Gwyn's The Shadow of the Gods. This is the first book in his Bloodsworn saga. Epic fantasy by one of the greats of modern epic fantasy, John Gwyn himself. I mean, look at that. Look at that one more time. Goodness gracious. But not only was I sent the first book, I was sent the entire trilogy. Book 2 is The Hunger of the Gods. Good lord, look at Fenrir on the front of that book. And then The Fury of the Gods. Yeah, That is my worst nightmare. I don't like the sea for that reason. Thank you for sending that to me because John Gwynne is one of my favorite fantasy authors. He's written one of my favorite series of all time, The Faithful and the Fallen. Nordic inspired series, very heavily based on Norse mythology and Viking lore. What's cooler than Norse inspired fantasy? Dragonfall by David Estes. Look at that cover! Second book in the Kingfall histories. Oh my. I purchased the first one a long time ago, and randomly in November, this bad boy showed up on my doorstep. But not only did Dragonfall show up, Magefall showed up. Oh yeah, check that out. Nightfall showed up. And Endfall showed up. So now the entirety of the Kingfall histories series, all 5 books are in my possession. I couldn't be more grateful. They showed up like a day apart from each other. Whoever you are, you kind anonymous stranger, I love you. I love you so much. Pat Conroy's The Great Santini. If you know anything about me, I am a huge Pat Conroy fan. To be given, I think this is his first novel. What a gem. What a gem. I will cherish this for the rest of my life. Pat Conroy is the master of destroying you emotionally. Next, I'm really excited to talk about these. These are all classics. Just like Stephen King, I'm a huge collector of the Wordsworth paperback classics. So these next 4 books are actually from my dear friend Shay. She's also a booktuber. Go check out her channel down below in the description. The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. Beautiful, beautiful. Dude, Wordsworth classic just knows. They just know. They just know. These are amazing paperbacks. Next is Bleak House by Charles Dickens. I almost forgot his name. First thing I ever read by Charles Dickens was A Christmas Carol, and then I attempted A Tale of Two Cities like 4 years ago. Couldn't get into it. So I'm hoping Bleak House can be my re-entry point into Dickens, even though this book is absolutely massive. She also sent me Don Quixote. Look at this cover, yo. Oh my goodness. And the spines are just gorgeous. They're all like these earthy colors. And last but not least, she sent me, you can't see that, but it's The Count of Monte Cristo. Oh my gosh, dude. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful book. This is one of the greatest books ever written of all time. If you haven't read this book yet, I freaking urge you. These 2 books showed up randomly. They also just so happen to be Wordsworth paperback classics. The first is Dubliners by James Joyce. James Joyce, as an author, intimidates the living life out of me. Do I even need to say why? He's the author of Ulysses and Finnegan's Wake. The fact that I want to read Ulysses and Finnegan's Wake this year, and I was sent Dubliners. Not only did Dubliners show up, this beautiful copy of James Joyce's A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. Look at this beautiful cover. Dude, do you see why I love Wordsworth paperback classics? They're marketed, I think, for children, but I don't care. They look fantastic. Next was City of Vengeance by D.V. Bishop. This is like a historical fiction crime thriller, I think, like a detective in 16th century Florence. All My Friends Are Going to Be Strangers by Larry McMurtry. I think this is the second book in his Houston series. I read this series out of order. I don't think there's technically an order you have to read them in. At the beginning of this year, I read the 3rd book in the Houston series, which is Terms of Endearment. But Larry McMurtry's All My Friends Are Going to Be Strangers. Larry McMurtry is an artist who is always right up my alley. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This also was sent by the same person who sent Stephen King's Different Seasons. I read it last year, and this copy makes me want to reread it because I think it's the actual 1818 text. Next is a series that 2 different people sent me. Fool's Errand, or the Tawny Man trilogy by Robin Hobb. I get to continue my realm of the Elderling's journey this year, and Tawny Man. I hear this series like rips your heart out and leaves you to just die there crying. Next is Golden Fool. Wow. And then Fool's Fate. Yes, the Fool seems to be the main focus of Tawny Man. If you know, you know. Last but certainly not least, my friend Zach sent me an omnibus copy of The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. This thing is insane. This thing is absolutely insane. The entire trilogy wrapped up the way it should be in one cohesive volume as the author intended. It's illustrated, and it also came with a lot of extra content like leaflets and papers. This thing is absolutely incredible. It has all of the hand-drawn pictures that Tolkien drew himself. Just one of the greatest things I've ever been gifted in my entire life. Zach, if you're watching this, thank you. You bold, beautiful man. That sums up all the books that I was gifted. Now let's get into the books that I bought for myself. So let's start with the books that I thrifted. These are all books that, while Ashlyn and I were out in San Francisco for the holidays, we went to many used bookstores. Well, let me show you what I got. The first is Books Burn Badly by Manuel Rivas. This is historical fiction set, I think, during the Spanish Civil War, and it's about the book burnings that went on. This actually is kind of crazy. Found this at a half-price books, but it sounds so intriguing. Look again at that cover. Goodness gracious, that's amazing. Also at Half Price Books was Dennis Johnson's Tree of Smoke. This is also historical fiction set during the Vietnam War. We're following many POVs. It also sounds like a thriller in some aspects and literary fiction in others. I've seen a handful of booktubers talk about this book, and they all rave about it. We're gonna go back to some of the Wordsworth classics because I saw these at a bookstore called Pegasus Books. If you're in the Bay Area and you come across the 3 different Pegasus locations, you have to go in there because they have everything. I mean, these places are absolute gems. I found 5 Wordsworth classics that I knew had to come home with me. The first being Ulysses by James Joyce. Yeah. So the fact that the Dubliners and the portrait of the artist as a young man showed up after I purchased Ulysses, let me tell you, that's no coincidence. Dubbed as one of the hardest books ever of all time to read. As soon as I saw it on the shelf, I was like, dude, you're kidding me. I'm buying this book right now. And I had to buy its counterpart, which was right on top of it, Finnegan's Wake. The hardest book of all time to read in the English language. I am very nervous. I'm excessively nervous to read this book, but I'm also more excited than I thought I would be. Over the past few weeks, I've wanted to stop every project that I'm working on so that I can do a James Joyce video. But I'm so scared. And it's because of this book. I mean, I have no excuse now not to read James Joyce on this channel. So it's happening this year. The Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas. Yep, after reading The Count of Monte Cristo, I knew that I had to read everything else by Mr. Dumas. When I saw this on the shelf, I thought, you're coming out with me. And the best part about Wordsworth classics is like, even online, the most you're gonna pay for one is like $7. And all of these were marked down to like $2 or $3. So it was worth it. Next, dude, okay, so I could not believe I saw these. Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Look at that beautiful woman. Holy crap. She's chunky. This is a chunky book. The famous Anna Karenina and how she just impacts everyone around her. One of the most memorable heroines in all of modern literature. And last but not least for the Wordsworth, and probably one of my most prized finds on that entire trip, War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. Again, look at that freaking beautiful woman. Yeah, dude, she's so big. Like, you probably can't tell. This is a hefty beast to hold. I would move to the Bay Area just for Pegasus Books because they have everything that I'm looking for. And the last book that I thrifted, I didn't even know this book existed until I saw it on the shelf. But as soon as I did see it on the shelf, I was like, this is coming home with me. And that is Leon Forrest's Divine Days. Like, it's as big as my head. This book is humongous. One of the reasons why I wanted to go home with it was because of its size. This book sits at a whopping 1,140 pages. So definitely one of the biggest books I'll ever read in my entire life. There will be a reading vlog on it. So the rest of these I bought for videos, up and coming videos. And I've been buying these pretty much since September. The next 2 are both by Richard Stark. The Man with the Getaway Face and The Outfit. These 2 are the 2nd and 3rd installments in the Parker series, which is a crime noir. There's like 22 or 24 books in this series. Curious and intrigued by Richard Stark's writing and how it's a crime fiction series that's not written from the perspective of like a cop or detective. It's written from the perspective of the criminal himself, the thief, the sociopath, the murderer. Next is R. Scott Baker's The Darkness That Comes Before. This is the first book in a grimdark fantasy trilogy known as The Prince of Nothing. Set in like a fantastical version of the Middle East, specifically in Jerusalem. We follow a holy war and the people involved in that holy war and a stranger who's come to the land who interrupts that holy war by accident and gets thrown into the political intrigue and the grim darkness of the story. The Cider House Rules by John Irving. I have seen the movie, and the movie is what made me interested. Because I'm a fan of both historical fiction and literary fiction, a lot of people think John Irving would be right up my alley. And I think they're right, because just based on what I remember of this movie, I was already in love. The Road to Jerusalem by, let me get this, a lot of you told me how to say it, Jan Guillou. Han Guillou? John Guillou. The Road to Jerusalem, the first book in the Crusades trilogy. A young Swede around the time of the Vikings falls in love with the wrong woman, and essentially his punishment, because of some odd reason, is to serve 20 years fighting in the Holy Land during the Crusades. Victor Hugo's Les Miserables. I did a lot of research trying to figure out what translation to get. Bought it because this is the next big classic that I want to sink my teeth into. I mean, it's massive. Guys, holy crap. But at least she's flappy. The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. One of the most highly recommended books on this channel ever since I started. Everybody has been wanting me to read The Goldfinch. Now that I've read The Secret History by the same author, it just makes sense. This is historical fiction, obviously, because it won a freaking Pulitzer. Just every time I've read a Pulitzer Prize winner, I think, dang, I need to read another. And The Goldfinch sounds beautiful. I love Donna Tartt's prose and mystery and intrigue in The Secret History, so I think The Goldfinch is going to be just as good. I mean, whoa, Stephen King has a blurb? A triumph. That's all you have to say? Okay, I'm even more convinced now. If you're not familiar with my series, Strangers on the Street convincing me to read their favorite books. I just did the most recent installment of that back in December. Go watch that video. It was so much fun, and I got so many good recommendations. Well, I'm not gonna go into too much detail. I'm just gonna show you the books. Hopefully you get excited. Lord Falsbane by Stephen R. Donaldson. If you're familiar with the gentleman that recommended this book, I'd be an idiot not to read it because of how he presented it, how he convinced me, how he spoke about it. The thing is, though, this copy isn't available on Amazon, so I had to do some digging, and I found a bookseller on Etsy. Unfortunately, I couldn't buy just Lord Falsbane, so I had to get the entire trilogy. Book 2 is The Ill Earth War. Wow. And then the third book is The Power That Preserves. Epic fantasy. I think it's a 10-book series, but it's broken up into different, like, smaller series. I'm stoked. The way that man talked about Lord Falsbane, it was like he was talking about a freaking family member. So I had no other option. In that same vein, with Strangers Convinced Me, I bought Jacqueline Hartman's I Who Have Never Known Men. One of the great works of dystopian literature. Again, I was convinced by some amazing strangers who read this as part of their book club. They made it sound amazing. The thing that really convinced me to buy this book was the comment section. Go check out that video, go read the comment section. You'll see why I picked up a copy of I Who Have Never Known Men. The last and final book of this massive freaking book haul. John Steinbeck's East of Eden. Can you believe it? I can't believe I'm holding this in my hands. Out of every single book that's ever been recommended to me since I started this channel, this is the most recommended book. This isn't gonna be one of those things where it's like, Ian, okay, you bought the book. Are you gonna wait 6 months to give us what we want? No, I'm not. This is coming soon, sooner than you all think. Hit the like button, hit the notification, and subscribe. And then you can do whatever you want after this video comes out. John Steinbeck's East of Eden. I think, again, it's kind of like Victor Hugo's Les Mis. It has enough weight that it speaks for itself. It's one of those books that everybody needs to read in their life at least once. The fact that so many people recommend it to me on a daily basis. Please be patient with me. It's coming soon, okay? That's it. 50 books. I couldn't be more grateful to this amazing community of book lovers that come to this channel and hear me rant and hear me rave and watch me be goofy and hear me say silly things. The fact that you all still find it within your hearts to be generous enough to send books my way, is to add to mine and Ashlynn's bookshelves, and to just say, hey, Ian, I want you to read this book. I really loved it. I think you'd love it. Here you go. The fact that you do that, the fact that you guys made up the majority of this haul, and the thing, it's not like I asked you to do it. I would never ask you to buy me anything. Brought many tears to my eyes of gratitude, and I cannot thank you enough. I cannot thank God enough for bringing you all into my life and mine and Ashlynn's lives. You guys have literally changed everything about our lives. What we do on a daily basis. I mean, this is now my job, and I couldn't be more grateful. And thank you again to the sponsor of today's video, Book of the Month. Remember, head on over to bookofthemonth.com or click the link down below in the description and use the code CRUSH to get your first book for only $9.99. That's the book haul. I'll see you next time. Hey, you should click that video. It's a really good video. I mean, YouTube's recommending it to you for a reason, so maybe you should click it and enjoy.